As you may know, I had the Zelda Collector Edition as a kid, which had the N64 games and the first 2 Zelda games. As much as I enjoyed Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, they never really got me into the series. I was fine with just having these games and nothing more. During the Wii era, my cousin at one point came over and brought his copy of Twilight Princess, and I tried it out. I instantly got invested, that it made me a Zelda fan. In this video, I'll be reviewing Twilight Princess. Enough talking, let's get into it. The plot of the game is that you're just an ordinary guy living in a peaceful village, when all of a sudden, these orc-like creatures invade the village and kidnap your best friend. You then go into this area that makes you turn into a wolf, for some reason, and find out that Hyrule is infested with the Twilight. It's up to you and this mysterious imp Mida to stop the Twilight King Zant and save Hyrule. The way the game starts is pretty slow. Like most games, it's pretty much a tutorial on how to play, and it also lets you get to know the villagers. The one thing that I really hate about the beginning is this herd minigame, where you have to chase these goats into a barn. It's annoying, there's no point to this, it's not a tutorial for anything. You might think that's a tutorial on how to use Epona, but you literally have to take her there, so you pretty much have an idea on how to ride her. The best part of the beginning is when one of the children runs off and you have to chase after him. I like this part because this is where the action begins. While you are trying to find the child, you run into enemies. The rest of the beginning is meh. The entire time I was just like, just get me to the adventure. Now let's discuss about the mechanics of the game. It's pretty similar to Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker, except in the Wii version, you use your sword by shaking the Wii remote, which is okay. It doesn't bother me like some people, except the nunchucks don't work sometimes. I don't know if it's mine that's not working, or that's always been a problem for everyone. One thing that is unique to this game is that you have a wolf form that can sense smells, that can lead you to where you need to be, sense things that are invisible, dig things out, or dig into areas you can't go in your human form. Wolf Link is a cool concept, but most of the time, I prefer Link's human form since he can use his items and takes more damage to enemies than his wolf form. I will use Wolf Link at times since some enemies are made for that form, and he can walk on snow and sand easier in that form than his human form. It's just that I find his human form more fun. I will say it is fun to see people in the castle town cowering in fear and running away from him when he is in his wolf form, especially hearing some of the weird screams. The next mechanic I would like to discuss is the battle mechanics. At one point in the game, you encounter a golden wolf that takes you into a foggy area, turns into a skeletal figure, and teaches you his hidden skills. How to unlock each one is to find a howling stone, repeat what it's singing, and find him on the map once you are in human form, and he will teach you his hidden ways. One thing I love about this character is not because of his cool quotes, but also that he is the spirit of Link from Ocarina of Time, which is pretty cool. It's something you've never seen in the series. The hidden skills are fun to use, except at times you need to use the nunchucks, and sometimes it doesn't work. So far I pretty much talked about the mechanics in the beginning of the game, so I would like to talk about a part I don't really like, and that's the Twilight areas in Hyrule. The whole thing about these areas is that you have to get rid of the Twilight by finding these bugs and kill them. This part of the game is not that fun. It's only fun when you get to the last bug of the game, because that one becomes a mini-boss, which makes it more fun than the others. Another thing I hate about this game, that doesn't bring the game into negative light, it just affects me personally, has something to do with this room. Now, what's so bad about this room, you may ask? Well, you're gonna find out in 3, 2, 1. I hate these things. They give me the creeps. I remember first seeing one of them, and when they went down the ceiling, I didn't scream, nor did I jump. I just felt the chills go up my entire body. I tried to swing it at it, and it blocks my attacks. I was in full panic mode that I went into the other room that my cousin was in, while still swinging the Wii remote, saying, hey, there's a giant spider and I don't know how to kill it. And my cousin was like, oh man, I'm sorry, I forgot about them. And then he handled it. I kinda got used to them, but they still give me the heebie-jeebies. You know another thing that's also in the game? You know Goma, the one-eyed bug? Well, in this game, she's Sheila from Lord of the Rings. Just look at that thing crawl! This boss is surprisingly easy, and she's the weirdest idea for a spider boss. When you think of a giant spider, you would think it would jump or shoot its web at you. Well, it just crawls around the ceiling, shoots lasers from the giant's eye, and lays eggs so that her babies can attack you. It's such a weird boss. Now, on to dungeons. Most the ones I like. Starting with my favorite, Snowpeak Ruins. What I love about Snowpeak Ruins is that it has nothing to do with a temple or sacred area. Instead, it's just an abandoned manor where 2 yetis live. And the whole thing about this dungeon is that you have to find this cursed mirror shard, and the Yetis have locked it away in the bedroom. Yetta will tell you where the location is, but she will take you to the wrong place twice. Once you do get to the bedroom, the shard turns Yetta into a demon and becomes a boss of the dungeon. This one is sort of annoying, but not as annoying as I remember. I do like the music though. I just really like this one for being pretty unique. The place is also mysterious since the manor isn't an ordinary manor. Most of the areas have a ton of armory, like it was a training ground for soldiers. I also really like the Yetis. They're really fun, and they make a very cute couple. Next, the Goron Mines. I just like the theme that it's a place where the Gorons mine. In this dungeon, there are things that can make you walk on walls and ceilings with your iron boots. It's pretty cool, except for the fact that iron boots make you slow because of how heavy they are. What I also like about this dungeon is that you get to fight a giant Goron by throwing him into the lava, which is pretty fun. Speaking of Gorons, they're pretty mean at first, which is shocking since most of the games, they're gentle giants, sort of. And these guys are jerks! They do have a change of heart later on, so that's good. But when the first one attacked me, I was shocked and confused since I remember them being friendly in Ocarina of Time. Also, you get to sumo wrestle with the Elder, which is fun. I wish they did more with that minigame, but you only do it twice, which is a shame. Anyway, back to dungeons. The Temple of Time. This one, you get all the way to the top, fight a Dark Nut, and get a rod that controls this statue that you need to get down to the first floor in order to get to the boss. It's just a pretty interesting idea for a dungeon. I also like that the entrance to the dungeon is a replica of the Temple of Time from Ocarina of Time. City in the Sky! I like this one because it's a dungeon in the sky, and it kind of gives me Skyward Sword vibes from it. You also fight a dragon in this dungeon, which is pretty epic. Palace of Twilight. My favorite part in this dungeon is that you have to take this ball to a certain area, and this hand thing follows you around so it can take it from you, and you have to avoid it at all costs before it takes it back to the room you found it. The boss is super fun. This guy takes you from different boss rooms from the other dungeons in the game, and he's pretty chaotic and weird. I mean, just listen to the sounds he makes. I love Zant so much. That's basically all the dungeons I wanted to talk about. I guess now I can talk about these two bosses, the final boss, and King Boblin. Let's start with King Boblin. This guy appears 4 times in this game, 2 on a bridge, and 2 on foot, with a giant axe. The bridge is kinda epic visually, but it's hard to hit him since you don't want him to get close to him, or he'll push you and your opponent off the bridge. The other battles are pretty easy, but it's pretty fun to just hack and slash this guy. I really like his design since he has this orcish look to him. I also love his final words in the game as a sign that he shows his respect to Link's strength. I can imagine he has a change of heart, since he appears in the ending credits. The final boss. This boss has 4 phases. The first one is Zelda, who is possessed by Ganondorf. This boss is pretty much Phantom Ganon. She throws these electric balls at you, and you have to deflect it. She will sometimes charge at you and make this triangle thing on the ground, and you have to get out of the way before it lights up. The second phase is Ganon. He will spawn these portals and you have to watch closely to see which one he comes out of. Once he does, shoot an arrow at him and attack his weak spot. At some point he'll get wise and dodge your arrows, so you have to transform him into a wolf and let Mina hold him down and throw him off, which is satisfying to watch. In the third phase, you have to chase him while riding Epona. Once you get close to him, Z-target on him, so Zelda can shoot her light arrows at him and stun him, making the advantage to get to the melee range to strike him. This part is pretty annoying since it's hard to keep up with him and he'll sometimes summon ghosts to charge at you. The fourth and final phase is my favorite out of all of them. A sword fight to the death. This is one of my favorite final battles in the series. Not only is it really fun, but the lightning in the background and the music makes it even more epic. You also get to clash with him at some points, which is pretty cool too. Now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about the story. The story is okay. It has its moments, but sometimes the story can fall flat. Zelda and Ganondorf, I think, are the weakest part of the story. As much as I love Zelda's design, I think she's very bland in this game. The same for Ganondorf, and he only appears in a flashback in the very end of the game. I personally see no point in even having him as the main villain, since he adds nothing to the story. In the writer's defense, this is the same Ganondorf from Wind Waker and Ocarina of Time, so we get a basic understanding about his ambitions. So there's really nothing to add to this character. It's just, other than making Zant his follower, he really doesn't add much to the story. I wish Zant was the main villain, even though I find his ambitions not that interesting. He has more personality, and him being an incarnation of Ganon would add an interesting twist to the series. Or better yet, just making a completely new villain that has nothing to do with Ganon, like Vadi from Four Sword and Minish Cap. As for Link, I like this incarnation of him. Sure, he's not Toon Link, but he does have some funny expressions and a bit of a personality. I like his relationship with Hylia, and I think that Link and Mida have more of a connection than any of the companions that Link has adventured with. For Colin's subplot, I like what the writers were going for, but honestly, I thought it was cheesy. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate Colin. In fact, I liked him more than the other kids, except for Mallow. Mallow is the best out of all the children. It's funny that after he got into a situation where he gets kidnapped, gets rescued by somebody, but is now staying in a town far away from his parents, the first thing he thinks of is, I want to own a shop. There's this side quest where you have to donate rubies to his shop to expand it to Hyrule Castle Town, and turn this stupid shop that overpriced things to this wacky happy shop. There's a part in the story where this spirit gives Link a vision to tell him about the fused shadows. This is my favorite part of the story just because of how creepy it is. It's hard to follow along, at least for me, but from the visual storytelling aspects of it, it really sells it. Now as for Hylia, I like her, but I kind of wish there was more of her, and I'm pretty mixed with the amnesia subplot. But when she gets her memory back, there is this heartwarming moment with her and Link. Like I said, I really like their relationship, and overall, she's a good character. The amnesia part is pretty much the only thing I didn't like. The last character that is a big part of the story that I haven't discussed yet is Mida. And let me say, Mida's not the only best companion, but in my opinion, is the best Zelda character in the entire series. Not only is her design awesome, but her personality. She's pretty mean at first, but Link starts to grow on her and becomes a lot nicer later on. Even when she's mean, she's a very charming character. I like her character development, and finding out that she's a Twilight Princess is interesting. In my opinion, her part of the story is way more interesting than any of the characters in the game. Also in the end, you get to see her true form, and well, this Game Grumps clip says it all.
What's happening?
Oh, fuck! She's so cute!
Oh, dude, don't even get me started.
Oh my god!
That's pretty much all I gotta say about the story. Now let's get into some of the parts of the game that I want to discuss. Starting with this part, where you have to get this wagon to Kakariko Village, but there's these enemies that are attacking it, so you have to kill them, and when the wagon is on fire, you have to get rid of it by throwing the boomerang at it. There's also this freaking bird that drops bombs to scare off the horse, so you have to get rid of it as well. This part is so annoying. There's too many things happening at once, it's hard to kill things while riding on an opponent, and it's hard to Z-target on the wagon when there are too many enemies. Aaron Hansen, I feel your pain. Since you suck at video games, I thought you were just sucking. But no, you have every right to be mad.
Ow! Get up. This is one of the hardest things I've ever had to watch.
Next is a river game, which is a minigame where you're rowing a boat on the river, with Azora being your guide. And while you're on the river, you have these big pots that you have to shoot with your bomb arrows. Once you get all of them, you win a reward. It's a pretty simple minigame, but it's very relaxing, especially with the music. Next is the Hidden Village. I remember liking this when I was younger, but it's okay. The goal is to kill all the Boblins in the village, and it's sort of fun, but not really. I will say though, the music that plays in the background is what makes this mission fun. If it didn't have this music playing, it wouldn't be as fun. Next is the fishing hole. Some fans say that this is their favorite part of the game, so I decided to give it a shot since I hardly did. And at first I thought that even though it was relaxing and the music was nice to listen to, I thought the fishing was kind of boring because it's pretty hard to get any fish. But once I started understanding what to do, I finally understand why people like this part. I will say the big reason I would go there is because of the owner, Hina. I really like this character. I may be wrong, but she seems to be underrated. Inside the place where you pay for fishing, if you go into first-person view and look at stuff, she will talk to you about certain things, and it's fun to hear what she says. She also says this when you get a piece of heart, which I didn't record, so I'm using someone else's footage. I'll put their name in the video, but I just had to show you. It's just, oh my gosh. Also, look how she claps when you get a fish. Oh my gosh, she's so cute! Speaking of characters, let's talk about my favorites in this game. Starting with this guy. This is the Postman, which is a guy that sends letters during your journey. He might be annoying to some people since he stops at you at certain times in the game, but he doesn't bother me as much. And just the fact he makes those noises when he runs, I don't care how many times he shows up, just for that reason. Next is Agitha, who is a girl who calls herself the Princess of Bugs. And there's this side quest where you collect golden bugs and she gives you rupees for each one you find. I like these types of characters in Zelda, the ones that are weird but also mysterious. You can't tell if Agitha is role-playing for fun, maybe she thinks she's a princess, or maybe she was a princess but some tragic thing happened to her kingdom. I don't know, but she's a pretty bizarre character. There's also these characters called the Resistance, who are people that try to help bring Hyrule back to normal. My favorite out of the four is Shad. I just love nerdy characters and he's pretty nerdy. Also his design is cool. Ashe is my second favorite of the Resistance, mostly because she has a cool design. It is also cool to see Russell, who is Link's old friend from his home village, as part of the group. I remember when I saw him take his helmet off for the first time and I thought, oh cool, it's you! As a ow. Meh. I don't find him that interesting, really. And of course I've got to talk about Telma, who is a leader and owns a bar that is their hideout. She's pretty much a flirt, but she's kind of sweet too. I find her interesting because of her, personality, and that's all I'm gonna say. Look, I get it. Wind Waker has better graphics. It has a lot of charm. Link, Zelda, and Ganondorf are more interesting in that game than Twilight Princess, but I don't think Twilight Princess deserves to be hated for that. Even though the graphics don't hold up today, it's still one of my favorite games. I really like the setting being a dark fantasy, I like the characters, the gameplay, some of the dungeons, the music, also Mida being the best character in the series. Sure, it's got its flaws, but don't pretend Wind Waker doesn't either. We all know how horrible finding the Triforce Shards are. I don't want people thinking that I hate Wind Waker. I love that game too. I think they are both good in their own ways. And I think they both deserve love. But maybe I'm making a rant for no reason because there are people out there that do like it. And at the end of the day, it's their opinion. Who cares if they hate it? If I'm allowed to like it, they're allowed to hate it. I'll give this game a 9 out of 10. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.